Are you thinking about using AI in your classroom? In this video, I'm showing you the 3 AI tools I think every professor should actually learn, what each one does best, and how I'm using them in my own work. I'm Chris, and welcome to the AI Professor, where I cover practical ways to use AI in the classroom. Let's get straight into the 3 tools. The first tool is probably not a surprise. It is ChatGPT. But I'm not talking about opening a blank chat and asking it to write an email or create 10 quiz questions. ChatGPT has become more of a complete workspace for me. I use it to build custom GPTs for specific jobs. I use projects to organize long-term work, store reference files, and give ChatGPT the instructions and background it needs to stay focused. And recently, I have started experimenting with ChatGPT Work and Sites. That is where things are getting much more interesting for me. I recently used it to build an interactive website for one of my courses. The website places students into an emergency scenario. They have to make decisions, choose between different response options, and then follow different branches based on those decisions. Instead of giving students another scenario to read and another paper to write, I turned the scenario into something they have to work through. They're making decisions. As the incident changes, they're seeing the consequences of those decisions, and they have to explain their thinking at the end. I built the website inside ChatGPT without knowing how to code the entire thing myself. Now, that doesn't mean ChatGPT magically creates a perfect course activity on the first attempt. It absolutely did not. I had to provide the scenario, the learning objectives, the branching structure, the exact wording, and plenty of corrections. But that is also the point. The professor still has to provide judgment. ChatGPT helps build the experience. I have separate videos that go much deeper into projects, custom GPTs, including 5 custom GPTs professors can build and 3 GPTs I created for my own classroom. I'll link those videos here. If you're only using ChatGPT for basic prompts, you're missing the bigger opportunity. Start thinking of it as a place to build complete teaching workflows, student resources, and now even interactive course experiences. The second tool I wanted to cover solves a completely different problem, NotebookLM, which Google has recently renamed Gemini Notebook. I've already done a deeper video showing how professors can use NotebookLM to create study guides, audio overviews, videos, and other materials from their own sources. But one of its most useful features may be the notebook itself. You can share the entire notebook with your students. That means you are not limited to downloading a slide deck or sending students an AI-generated video. Students can open the actual notebook and ask questions about the materials you selected. For example, I could create a notebook for one of my courses and upload my lecture notes, assignment directions, important websites, articles, videos, and other course resources. Then I can share that notebook with students. The notebook essentially becomes a course-specific tutor. A student could ask, explain this week's reading in simpler language. Or, what does the assignment require? Or, quiz me on the major concepts from this module. And because the notebook is grounded in the sources I provided, the answers should stay connected to the course materials I actually want students using. That's the real value for professors. We are not simply telling students to open a general AI chatbot and hope it gives them accurate information. We are creating a controlled collection of trusted course sources and giving students a way to interact with them. The professor still decides what goes into the notebook. You decide which documents matter. You decide which websites are trustworthy. You decide which videos, reading, and course materials students should rely on. Then students can use the notebook when they need clarification, explanation, or study support. Now, I would still give students clear instructions about how the notebook should be used. It should help them understand the course material. It should not replace reading, completing assignments, or doing their own thinking. And I would test the notebook myself before sharing it. I would ask the same kind of questions students are likely to ask and make sure the questions are clear, accurate, and supported by the sources. But when it's built carefully, NotebookLM can become more than another content generator. It can become an on-demand tutor built around your own course. If you want to see how I create the videos, study materials, and other resources inside NotebookLM, I have a full walkthrough linked here. But for this video, the bigger point is that you can share the notebook itself and turn those sources into a student support tool. The first two tools help me build and organize the substance, but this third tool helps me turn that substance into something students can look at. The third tool is Gamma. Gamma creates presentations using AI, and it can produce a set of lecture slides in minutes. I've already done a more detailed walkthrough of Gamma, and I will link that video. But there are a few lessons I've learned since using it more often. First, Gamma works much better when you do not simply type "create a lecture about artificial intelligence." That's how you get a presentation that looks attractive but wanders around the topic. I get much better results when I give Gamma my lecture notes and a complete slide outline. I tell it, slide 1 should include this, slide 2 should explain this, slide 3 should show this example, slide 4 should compare these ideas. I also tell it what not to include. The more control I give it over content, the less time I have to spend fixing that beautiful presentation that teaches the wrong lesson. There is also an important limitation professors should know about before they start building everything in Gamma. The free plan gives you 400 starter credits. Those credits do not reset. Once you use them, they're gone unless you purchase more credits or move to a paid plan. And I know that because I used all of mine. So Gamma can be a great way to create lecture slides quickly, but I would not waste those credits experimenting with vague prompts. Give it strong lecture notes and a detailed slide outline from the beginning. That helps you get a better presentation without burning through credits, fixing results that went off topic. On the free plan, Gamma also limits an initial presentation to about 10 cards or slides at a time. That may be enough for a short presentation. For a longer lecture, I divide the presentation into sections. I create slides 1 through 10 first, then add the next group. But I keep one complete outline for the entire lecture so each section follows the same structure. My workflow looks like this. First, I use ChatGPT to help organize or improve my lecture notes. Second, I create a numbered slide outline that states exactly what belongs on every slide. And third, I give the notes in the outline to Gamma. Then I revise the slides because once again, AI does not remove the professor from the process. Gamma may choose a strange image. It may put too much text on one slide. It may turn a simple point into something that sounds like it was written for a corporate retreat. You still have to review it, but it gets you past the blank presentation and gives you something visual to improve. Here is what I would not do. I would not try to master every new AI tool that appears online. Most professors do not need 10 tools that perform almost the same job. They need a small number of tools with clear roles. And for me, that's the 3 I discussed in this video. ChatGPT helps me create and build. NotebookLM, or Gemini Notebook, helps me create a course tutor for my students. Gamma helps me present those ideas visually. That is enough to create a very strong AI workflow without spending every weekend testing another app with the word AI slapped onto it. You don't have to become an expert in all 3 this week. Pick the one that solves the biggest problem in your work right now. Which of these 3 tools are you already using? And which one do you want me to cover next? Tell me in the comments. I've also linked my deeper videos on custom GPTs, ChatGPT projects, NotebookLM, and Gamma below, so you can choose the workflow you need and go deeper from there. And subscribe to the AI Professor for practical ways to use AI without turning your classroom or your workload into one giant technology experiment. I'll see you in the next video.